Oh, and thank you for taking some time to watch this pre-camp video ahead of our Northeast Headfirst softball showcase sessions on Long Island coming up in early August. A brief look at what we'll talk about and cover in this video. First, some quick introductions to our team, some of the team that you might have spoken with already, as well as the team that you'll be seeing on site in Yaphank. We'll also talk about how to prepare for camp and what to expect during the two-day schedule. And then also finally, we'll cover how to prepare for camp from a coach engagement and from your recruiting process standpoint. So first up, some introductions. One voice and face that you'll see on site is Jenna Orlando. Jenna is the Director of Operations and Programming for the Headfirst companies. Jenna played her college softball at Lafayette College, where she graduated in 2017 after being a four-year starter and two-time Patriot League academic honor roll, as well as a senior year team captain for the Leopards. Jenna joined Headfirst immediately upon graduating as a leadership fellow and has been here working closely with this division, the Showcase division, ever since. Next up, Brendan Sullivan. Brendan is the founder and president of the Headfirst companies. Brendan is a DC native where he had an outstanding high school career at St. Albans and went on to pitch and play at Stanford University, where he graduated in 1996 after 3 years and was drafted by the San Diego Padres. He played in the Padres organization up through AAA, had an outstanding career there, and founded Headfirst in the off-season while playing pro ball. Caitlin L. Wanger. Caitlin is a senior associate for program operations, working specifically with our showcase customers and with our showcase division. Caitlin also played college softball. She played at Denison University, where she graduated in 2022. She played there all 4 years, was a 3-year team captain, and was also a 3-year NFCA All-Academic American. And then finally, a name that might be familiar to some of you is Michael Rothstein. Michael is a business development fellow here for us at Headfirst as he pursues his master's degree from NYU. Mike is one of our main touch points for customers. So if you've called us or emailed us, there's a very good chance that you will have exchanged information with Mike before, so he might be a familiar name to you. Mike is a Headfirst alum. He attended Florida Southern College, where he graduated after playing baseball there, and is currently pursuing his master's at NYU, as previously mentioned. Next up, how to prepare for camp and kind of what to expect during the two-day schedule. So first, some of the arrival details. We'll be hosting these sessions at Lasorda Legacy Park in Yaphank, New York. And when depends on which session you are in. Session 2 is August 6th and 7th, and Session 3 is August 8th and 9th. Arrival and check-in for August 6th for Session 2 and August 8th for Session 3 will be between 7 and 7:15 a.m., where you'll check in, get your jersey, and start your day of programming. Here's an overhead shot of Lasorda Legacy Park. You see where that star is at the top of the screen is where we'll conduct check-in. And then the softball fields are those fields over on the left right there. So we'll get you checked in and then send you over in that direction to start programming on day one of each session. During the check-in process, we do ask that players only head through camp check-in to get their jersey number, their jersey assignment. They'll receive their jersey as well as some other information to make sure that they're all squared away. Parents, you can head directly through check-in towards the all camp meeting area, where we'll start up with a meeting after all the players are checked in. Between now and camp, one super helpful thing that everyone can do is download the Headfirst on-site app. We'll cover some details about how to do this later on in this video. There will also be details in the pre-camp email that you receive prior to camp. This is a key thing to do because all of the on-site communication will take place through the app. If there's time-sensitive notifications, or it's where we post our teams and our day 1 and day 2 schedule, any updates while we're on site will be communicated through that on-site app. So if you have that downloaded prior to arrival, it'll just make things a little bit quicker and easier for you. Parents are certainly more than welcome and encouraged to stick around and watch all the softball action. There is seating available on all fields and different parts of the fields for parents to sit and watch. You're also welcome to bring your own chair if you prefer for your own comfort. There is some dedicated parent programming on day 1 and day 2, covering kind of some topics around the softball recruiting process. So stay tuned for that as well, but you're certainly welcome on site. And there is plenty of seating available for you to be able to watch all the softball action. The day 1 and day 2 schedule. So As mentioned, day will start with camp check-in starting at 7 a.m., which will be followed by, after all the players are checked in and have their camp jerseys, we will start with an all-camp meeting right at 7:40. This will be for the players as well as parents. We'll talk about what to expect over the next 2 days and what's in front of the players, as well as some staff introductions for the Headfirst team. After that, players will head off to stretch and start getting loose to start softball. And there will be a parents-only meeting to follow, again, to answer any last-minute questions and talk a little bit about parent involvement on site, as well as a few other logistical details. After those meetings are all wrapped and after the players are loose and warm, we will start the defensive showcase rotation. During this time, players will be grouped by their defensive showcase position. Players can go with whatever position they desire during this time. It can be their primary position, their secondary position, wherever they want to showcase that morning. They'll stay with that defensive position group throughout the whole morning. As part of this rotation, they will get loose. They will also be on the showcase field with all of the coaches that are in attendance watching. And then they'll also rotate through a few other objective measurements, namely a home-to-home running time that we'll collect and pass along to coaches, a 20-yard dash or home-to-first time, and also an overhand throwing velocity. All the metrics that we collect during the defensive showcase will be put into their profile and sent around to college coaches, both in print and digitally, as well as sent to players after camp ends as well. After the defensive showcase, we will head straight into the offensive showcase. Players will stay with their same defensive showcase groups, and again, we'll work through a rotation where they will get ready to hit. They will hit in front of all the coaches, and then we will also collect some additional objective measurements during this time. Namely, it will be the batted ball velocity off the tee, which will also, again, be updated in their profile and sent around to college coaches as well. After the showcase morning wraps, we will start our simulated games, which will take up really the rest of the bulk of day one, and then also the bulk of day two as well. So all players will be assigned to teams to play in one game on day one, and then 2 games on day 2. These teams will be communicated on site via that on-site app. So we'll send out a push notification that says teams are posted, and here's how to work through the documentation to make sure that all players and parents know what team they're on, what field they're playing on, when they're playing, etc. The games do have slightly adjusted rules as a way to facilitate action and really maximize opportunities. For example, we will always start every batter with a 1-1 count. We'll always be playing with 0 outs, and we don't play 3 outs per inning. We play 6 batters during each half inning, again, to work through as many batters as possible, encourage strike throwing, encourage putting the ball in play, and really getting as many on-field opportunities as possible. The other piece is that the batting order runs continuously over the course of the 2 days. We don't have a traditional leadoff hitter, cleanup hitter, or anything like that. So whatever batter ends the day on day 1, the batter after them will start up the day on day 2 to ensure that everybody's getting equal at bats over the course of the 3 games that they'll be playing over the course of 2 days of camp. Teams are balanced purely by positional groups. We don't organize teams by what travel team you're coming from or what state you're from or by grad year or anything else. We balance them strictly by primary and secondary defensive position. This is, again, meant to really increase and maximize the amount of playing time that players get at their positions and make sure that it's even across camp so that there isn't one team that has 5 shortstops and one that has 2. So it'll be really balanced by both primary and secondary defensive positions to maximize playing time for all players at both their primary and secondary positions over the course of the games. There will also on day 1 be a coach-led positional practice. This is where players can go with their positional group. They'll break up into middle infielders, first baseman, third baseman, outfielders, catchers, pitchers, etc. And they'll go with a small group of coaches to do some drills, some feedback, and really kind of work through this practice plan that coaches lead. And this is certainly a great time to learn more about the game of softball and get some good feedback and instruction. It's also a great time for players to start engaging directly with college coaches as well, get a sense of who they are on the field, how they coach, how they approach a practice, how they run their program. Day 2 will again be mostly taken up by simulated games. Arrival time will depend on what team your ball player is on, and again, will be communicated via the Headfirst on-site app. Each team on day 2 will play in 2 7-inning games over the course of the day. And then in addition to the gameplay, there is some additional programming. Namely, there's a dedicated coach connection period on day 2, which all players will engage in. And this is really a time when it is strictly for players to interact with college coaches. Go up, shake a coach's hand, meet them face to face, put a face to a name, and really start to express interest and receive interest at their target programs, and really start to get to know these coaches and really have the chance to engage with them directly, get a sense of who these coaches are. Coaches can start to assess the fit of the player, not just on the field, but also culturally and personality-wise for their program. There also will be, in addition to that, there is a meeting for parents as each team gets ready for its first game of the day. There will be a panel and Q&A about the recruiting process where parents have the chance to talk with the Headfirst staff as well as some of our partners about what to expect in recruiting process and really get their questions answered. Camp on day 2 will end by 5:30 p.m. for the sake of everyone's travel, so you can head off for your flight or return your rental car or get on the ferry or whatever the case is. A few notes about equipment for Lasorda Legacy Park. Lasorda Legacy Park is an all-turf facility, and so metal spikes are not permitted. All players should plan on wearing, you can wear rubber cleats, turf shoes, or sneakers for camp programming, but we do ask that you not wear metal spikes for any portion of camp programming. For bats and helmets, bats simply need to meet any current high school regulations. So if you're using it in your high school travel ball, then you're good to go. Headfirst has some helmets, but we really prefer that players bring their own to eliminate the sharing of equipment, and also generally found that players are more comfortable with that as well. So players, please plan on bringing all of your own equipment with you. And then third bullet, we're going to talk about how to prepare for camp from a coach engagement perspective and how to really leverage it in your recruiting process. One note here is you've been getting emails since you enrolled about what we call the Headfirst recruiting roadmap. The recruiting roadmap is our exclusive grade-specific content that really gives tips and insights on how to advance your recruiting, with areas kind of focused in 3 different places. One is recruiting strategies, like how to talk to coaches, how to format emails to coaches, how to start to do school research. Then also academic readiness. And we work with some partners here to make sure that you're able to, be preparing for your SAT or ACT appropriately and all the other pieces of the puzzle that you need academically. And then also wellness and performance. How do you respond to pressure? How do you set yourself up for success in this recruiting process on the field, mentally and emotionally, with the challenges you might face, and really be set up to perform your best while you're on site with us. Another key piece about this is there's tips on how to do research on programs, how to communicate with college coaches, what to expect at Headfirst, and then also how to approach and be successful at Headfirst. So if you haven't already, I would certainly advise going back into your inbox and taking a look for this recruiting roadmap content, taking a look through it. If you have already read all the recruiting roadmap content, thank you so much. That's fantastic. And I would advise going back to revisit some of it in the lead up to camp to make sure that you're checking all the boxes and setting yourself up for success once you're on site in Yaphank. You see here, preparing for camp and kind of how to approach this from a recruiting standpoint. We separate this out into 3 pretty intuitive phases. There's before camp, there's at camp, and then there's after camp. So before camp, between now and when you arrive on site, 2 really, really important things that you can be doing to set yourself up for success are doing research and on schools and programs and building out what your school list looks like, and then doing some email outreach to those coaches and programs. Start to do some research about schools and start to ascertain, okay, what size school do I want to be at? Do I want to be close to home? Do I want to be far away? Do I want to be at a liberal arts school, at an engineering school? Do I want to be in a city? Do I want to be outside a city? Start to build out your school list based on the qualities that you're looking for in your college experience, and then start to look at the coach list that will be attending your session and do some email outreach to the schools that fit the profile that you're looking for in your college experience. That will really help set the table for conversations on site. If you send an email to the Princeton coaching staff that says, hey, coaches, I'm really interested in Princeton because it's X, Y, and Z. I'm looking for this academically and this socially and this culturally. Then when you're on site, you have this starting point. They have some video, they have your transcript, they have your name, and they have some information so you can start that conversation a little bit more smoothly. camp, you see the key to success is that first bullet: engage, engage, engage. There's a lot of really great opportunities at camp to take advantage of and to start these conversations with college coaches. We've talked about the coach-led practice, which is a great time to get some instruction and engage directly with college coaches. There's also the coach connection period where you have that time set aside during camp to, again, talk with college coaches face-to-face. There's also a lot of opportunity during games. Coaches are on the field and in the dugouts during their games. That's another time when you can really start to approach some of these conversations around the game of softball. So we encourage you to take advantage of every opportunity that you have while you're on site with us to engage with college coaches that are on your target list. Now, we know that for some high school student athletes, they would much rather face someone throwing 75 in the circle than approach this conversation face-to-face with a college coach. It can be very intimidating, and we certainly know that. So to help student athletes be set up for success while they're with us, two things that I'll mention here. One is camp programming, and then the second is Headfirst support. So from the camp programming perspective, again, we feel it's really important that players have these dedicated set-aside times where they can meet and engage with college coaches during the practice and during the coach connection period. There's also a lot of organic time to start these conversations during games, between games, in the dugout, on the field. Sometimes what we found is that it can be less intimidating for student athletes to start these conversations around the game of softball. So that's where these games can, like in-game communication with coaches, can really set you up for success, because instead of walking up to a coach and saying, hey coach, you're the coach at my dream school. I love your school so much. I really want to go there. That can be more intimidating, as opposed to walking up to a coach and saying, hey coach, you just saw my at bat and I kind of got into a two-strike hole. How do you work with your hitters about two-strike hitting approach in your program? Starting those conversations around the game of softball can sometimes be easier to broach. It also shows your coachability. It shows that you're seeking instruction and feedback from these coaches, and that you're constantly trying to level up and improve your game. There also is Headfirst support. One of the reasons that we introduce our team members, both during this video and also on site on day one, is that we want to make sure that you have the support you need from our team to start these conversations. If that means you need help tracking down and finding a coach that you're looking for, ask us. If this means asking about, hey, I don't really know how to start this conversation with the coach at my dream school, talk to someone from Headfirst, and we're happy to provide you with support, some tips, some tricks, some guidance on where to find coaches, how to start these conversations, and how to set yourself up for success during these conversations. And then finally, a really, really crucial part is the post-camp follow-up. The two-day showcase is a super important event in your recruiting process, but it also can be a platform for you to advance your recruiting, especially if you follow up with coaches after. You email them before, you engage with them at camp, you talk to them face-to-face, and then you follow up afterwards. This means sending emails. This means sending texts or phone calls if that's where you are with some coaches. It might mean sending a handwritten letter of saying thank you to coaches who spent more time with you or that gave you specific feedback on certain parts of your game. So it's absolutely crucial that you follow up with the coaches that were on your list coming into camp, as well as with any coaches that you met on site that maybe you didn't have interest in that school, or you didn't know about that school before you arrived, but now you have the chance to talk with them, learn more about the school. You're interested in the program now that you know more about it. Follow up with those coaches, send them emails, send them the information that they need so they can keep moving with your recruiting process as well. We see here just a sample of the 50 plus schools that will be at each of these sessions in New York. And this is really meant to highlight the variety of different programs that will be there. You see here there are schools from New England and California and the Midwest, and there's programs that are small, there's schools that are big, there's schools that are liberal arts colleges, and there's some that are more engineering focused. They're D1, they're D3, they're really all over the place. And this is done intentionally to offer student athletes as much variety as possible so that you can get a sense of what are the programs that are out there that are recruiting and recruiting student athletes like me, and where can I start to find my fit in my college experience. To see the full list of coaches that are attending your session in particular, you can go to the confirmed coaches page of our website. And again, start to build out your list of programs that will be there that you are interested in and start to send some emails before camp. A few logistical notes about preparing for camp from an engagement perspective. There are some different kind of rules around NCAA recruiting conversations. So for the class of 2025, which is rising seniors, you are eligible to have what the NCAA calls recruiting specific conversations with D1 coaches. So all 2025 student athletes during check-in will receive a black wristband, which just is a visual indicator for coaches that you're a 2025 and that you're able to have these recruiting specific conversations. Recruiting specific conversations simply means that if you're walking up and talking to a Division I coach, they can say, hey, Max, I really like how you play. I'm interested in recruiting you. Let's talk about getting you on campus. Let's talk about your scholarship. Let's talk about your roster spot. It's the specific nitty-gritty status of your recruiting process as an individual student athlete. One note about this only applies to Division I programs. Division III schools have a lot more latitude and leeway, but Division I schools are bound by this rule about in-person recruiting conversations. For the class of 2026 and younger, so rising juniors, rising sophomores, and rising freshmen, you cannot have these recruiting specific conversations. So you cannot walk up to a coach in a Division I program and they say, hey, let's talk turkey. I really like you as a player. I want to get you on campus. Let's talk about your scholarship, or let's talk about your roster spot. They can't have those sorts of conversations with you. However, they absolutely can and will still talk to you. You just need to be cognizant that there are certain things where they might say, well, I can't talk with you about that or about where you stand in our recruiting process because you're a 2026 or a 2027. You absolutely can and should still have these at-camp conversations. You just might be better off focusing them around introducing yourself to coaches, expressing interest in their program, and then getting some on-field instruction, soliciting feedback, and how you can continue to develop and improve your game, and then let those conversations progress from there. Some logistical notes and partner notes. We work with a hotel partner called Book Your Block, and there is a state of play policy. So for players who are traveling in from out of town, you can go to the Enrolled Athletes tab on our website, click on the Travel Planning Softball from the drop-down menu, and then that will take you to the list of hotels and the Book Your Block information there. This helps you secure hotels that are close to the venue and also that have some better rates, some lowest rates for you. And then if you are staying with family or you live nearby or whatever it may be, you also can submit a hotel booking exemption request by emailing Book Your Block directly. And again, that information is on our website. If you click on the Enrolled Athletes tab and you click on the Travel Planning Softball from that drop-down menu. The Headfirst mobile app, as I mentioned, this will be really important to set you up to know everything you need to know while you're on site. So before you arrive, if you go to the App Store on your phone, search for Headfirst Honor Roll, you download that app, and then you're going to open the app and click Enter Passphrase to find your guide. And then you see here the guides for each session. They are session specific, so make sure that when you enter your passphrase, you're entering it for the session that you are registered to attend. Video partner. Some of you have probably already purchased Real Play Video. A note about Real Play, you have the opportunity to purchase a video package of your time with us at camp. The Real Play Video package includes your defensive and offensive showcase video, as well as all live gameplay captured from multiple camera angles. It's edited for you, and then it is sent to you within 10 days of camp. And what this helps you do is it puts it in easy to share format. So you can put it on your recruiting profile, you can put it on your YouTube, you can send it out to college coaches, and it makes it really easy for you to share this video. If you haven't purchased it already, you can purchase the Real Play Video package before camp by emailing us, or there's also a link in the pre-camp email to learn more about it and then also to purchase it directly through Real Play as well. And then finally, if you still have any questions about camp or how to prepare or anything like that, please certainly feel free to reach out to us over email or over the phone, showcase@headfirstcamps.com, 202-715-6654. And one final plug for the recruiting roadmap. I absolutely encourage all student athletes and parents to take a look back at some of the recruiting roadmap emails that you've gotten and go dig back into the archive to find some important tips and tricks for how to set yourself up for success while you're on site. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we look forward to seeing you all in Yaphank soon.